Hey there, everybody. Taylor Holmes here from THiNC, Taylor Holmes Incorporated. Today we're talking about a mind job of a movie. There's no time travel. There's no parallelism or infinite universes. There's nothing tricky specifically about the movie, and yet it's tricky as all get out. Today we're talking about the movie The Alpines. I gotta open with this disclaimer and just say the first 50 to 75% of this film was a slog for me. It probably took me 4 sittings to get through it. And after the second or third one, I actually started searching for I needed to know what the hook was. I couldn't get a read on the film. I honestly expected a doppelganger to show up, or think esque mind jobby kind of twist, but nothing was coming, and all it was catty high school. Well, you did this, and you slept with this person, and it was just going around. I mean that was the point, right? That was the point. So just set that aside. And as I was sort of pushing my way through, trying to figure out what the heck was going on, I suck at names. I suck at character differentiations. If you know anything about me, in my writing, you know that I have a really hard time keeping names straight, keeping characters straight, and that sort of thing. So I couldn't really track the different characters in this film, and that's really critical to getting to the heart of it. Okay, so this video is assuming you've watched the film. If you have not watched the film, you need to time out, pause, stop it, because I'm about to just start dropping spoiler after spoiler and discussing the inner workings of the Alpine. So please hit pause. I think you can get it over on iTunes, Apple TV. I think all the big streamers have it. You can rent it right now. So don't continue on. Okay, so I'm assuming the rest of us have already seen the film. The Seven Deadly Sins, right? That is the topic of this movie, and I did not see it coming. The reveal and the blender high speed mode that unwinds towards the end is pretty brilliant. It's pretty fantastic. I know you've seen it. But it's actually kind of ironic. We just talked about Seven on the 100 best movies of all time, air quotes, from the Hollywood Reporter list. I've been weekly going through one by one. So we covered Seven, and so here we are back again with Seven Deadly Sins. Which is pretty interesting. Being a Christian myself, and deeply religious personally, and having a pretty good knowledge of the Bible and theology, and the fathers of Christianity. I actually did not know. Really anything about the Seven Deadly Sins, or where the heck they came from. They're not in the Bible. I mean, not as a group, but apparently there was a writer named Ponticus, I think, who enumerated them. Apparently he based them on the 8 planets, and apparently they were guarded by aerial spirits, and I don't know. It's not theologically sound. Sure, not being greedy, not being slothful. That's. I mean, okay, but it's an interesting concept. This idea of the seven deadly sins, and that there are weights to sins, or one sin might be worse than another. If you know anything about the Bible, grace covers all sin. That's why Christ came, right? He came to take away sin. And it's an interesting point the movie actually makes itself. In the quote, in the wrap up, it said, although forgiven by God, damned to a life of predetermined torment by their sin. It's a brilliant quote. I've got a ping out to the screenplay writer, Molly, I believe her name is. She was one of the characters in the movie, and we'll see if she responds. But it's a fascinating idea, right? This idea that though forgiven for our sins, tormented to a life of predetermined torment of, by these actions that they have been committing, and so as you walk through the characters, you have gluttony, Roger the glutton. He had no temperance. You have Gills the greedy. He wasn't charitable. He had no charity. James the wrathful. He had no patience. That's an interesting comment on wrath. Rowan the envious. She had no kindness. So those who envy aren't kind, okay? Andy the lustful, no self-control. And then Zach the sloth, no zeal. Well, he had zeal at the end. Definitely he had a lot of zeal at the end. But it took a while to spin him up. And then there was pride. The character was Logan, and she's the one at the end wrapping everything up. She is the screenplay writer, Molly Corrigan. As you look through these, seven deadly sins, and you watch them play out, I immediately, once I saw that, and once I realized who the characters were, I zipped right back to the beginning and started over again and started watching. I had to detail each one out, but once I had the sin that they were an archetype for, had to watch through that again and see those sins play out throughout the entirety of the film. It's a great little movie. Definitely not perfect. Great as in a good time, right? A good reveal, a good hook. I love movies in this space of a black box, closed box space, Black Bear. There's a ton of them, right, in that space. But the idea that they were all brought together by Zach himself for a time away, a retreat, and the whole point was to reveal their sins, to cause an encounter with their sin. I think it brings me back to Dante's Inferno, and the opening stanza or two of that amazing apocryphal poem, and the way that the teller and the poem walks down through the lower rings of hell. Midway upon the journey of our life, I find myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward path had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say, what was the forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear. So bitter is it, death it is a little more, but of the good to treat, which there I found, Speak will I of the other things I saw there. And that I think encapsulates the story here. We have a narrator walking us through the seven deadly sins, the lower rings of hell. It walks us through our friends and our safe others, and unpacks those and unravels them, and we watch as this group of friends just implodes, and it ends with pride controlling everything and trying to wrap their arms around it and keep themselves proud, safe, outside of a fall, right? Anyway, really great movie. A lot of fun was had here throughout. You guys will have to forgive me for taking a while to get to it. I have no idea who recommended it to me, but thanks for doing it, whoever it was. I'm sure it was Nancy, and Nancy will give me crap about it later. Regardless, thanks everybody, and make sure you keep following along, both over at THiNC and here on Patreon.